Hey, and welcome to the FanFiAddict Book Club. I'm Frasier Armitage, part-time robot, full-time nerd.
And I'm MJ Kuhn, and I don't have a little tagline. But this is episode 1. Well, it's episode 1 of the FanFiAddict Book Club altogether, which is super exciting. But it's also episode 1 of our series covering of Blood and Fire by Ryan Cahill.
Yeah, it's so exciting. I think we should create a little tagline for you, MJ. I don't know what it would be, but maybe leave some comments, right? What do you think MJ's tagline should be?
There we go. Yeah, we'll crowdsource my tagline.
Yeah. So what we're going to be talking about today with Of Blood and Fire is we're going to be talking about the beginning of the book. So we're going to go through all the way to chapter 11 and we're going to be completely spoiling it. So for anybody who's not read this book, then uh get to it. Like pause the video, go read
Pause
11
right now. Yeah.
chapters. Yeah. And then come back. But yeah, it's like the book itself for me. I think the starting of a book is really, really important. And so I'm really, really chuffed that we're going to get to just devote this whole episode just to the starting. I
Yeah.
think it's really super important. So thank you for being with us at the start. And MJ, what were your like first impressions of the book?
So my first impression, honestly, nostalgia in a, like, positive connotation, right? Like, this feels very, like, classic epic fantasy story beginning, Wheel of Time vibes, in a way that I haven't seen in a lot of, modern fantasy in a while. Um, I also I was like, I know we had talked a little bit before where we're like, let's try to just like 3 words, 3 words. And so like I had
Mm.
compelling if slow building was my like little,
Ooh.
which I'm cheating there because slow building, I'm using a hyphen, but it counts. Uh
So one of your words is if.
it
I
is.
like
So
it.
that's why I get a cheater on the 3rd word because if is like a nothing word. Uh what are your first impressions?
Well, yeah, I feel like we have very similar first impressions. Well, my three words are a little different to yours.
Ooh,
My three words were brotherhood, patient, simmer. Those are my three
ooh,
words.
simmer. I like that.
Simmer, yeah. Because like I feel like there's so much about this where like all of the direction and all of the things we get told and all of the things that we read about in SFF, it seems to be like your first chapter has got to be propulsive and it's got to be like, wow, and you've got to throw everything at it. And I feel like this book is like the antithesis of that. It's like,
Yeah.
let's just lull you into the world in the most patient way possible and make you care about everything right from the get go. And I'm like, I was so happy that it started like that because I was expecting fireworks, right? And instead, what I got was like this lovely sort of like it's everything's gonna be okay. It's all good. Like it was,
Is it
it was great.
though? No.
I know, right?
They're tricking you. No, but I
Yeah.
agree. I like that with the simmer because then it honestly, like the way you've just described it, makes me feel like we've just been, like we're the little tea bag, and we're just like soaking up
Mm.
all of the whatever, all of the world. Maybe it's the opposite. But that is we're just kind of like steeping in it, which is absolutely how it felt, starting this book. Which I know. Okay, so anyone that's in the Discord, which if you're not in the Discord, what are you doing? Go get in our Discord. Links are in the description. But anyone that's in the Discord, at the very beginning of the thread, and they're talking about Of Blood and Fire, all the way, back in December, we had one of our lovely Discord members was like, "Actually, there is a prequel ebook that's available for free on Ryan Cahill's website, and it's called The Fall. Did we wanna talk about The Fall now, or do we wanna break up where we talk about that?"
Well, I think that we should probably talk about it now because a lot of people may have come to this book after
Yes,
in
after
fall.
reading it, because we did a little bit of a cheat. We read this section first, the first 11 chapters, and then we were like, "Okay, let's go back and read The Fall." And Frasier, you were like, "I think that's the elite reading method." I think we might have discovered the elite reading method. Um,
We are accidental geniuses,
we are
MJ. Like this is because like for me, like the fall is a completely different side to the coin in
totally
the way
different
that
vibe,
this is.
yes.
Yeah. And it's great because it shows Ryan's like scope
Yep.
as an author, which is amazing. And as a reader, it's nice to see sort of like this big, like action heavy, sort of like throw you right in at the deep end like novella. But for me, like, if I'd have just gone in cold as that, my expectations for Of Blood and Fire would have been so, like, affected by it,
Yes.
and I don't think that the intro of the book would have landed as well for me as a reader, because 'cause I'd have been going in going like, "Let's go!"
Right, like,
And ins
where's all the dragons? Where's all the magic? And I completely agree with you. I do think, because we hear all the time that, like, I mean, it's designed, it's a prequel, like, you're supposed to read The Fall first. Um, or you can, I guess, and live your dreams. It's a free country. But but, like, I think that probably for people who've read the entire series and maybe even the entirety of book 1, which obviously we haven't yet, and you see how big the scope gets, because we know this is just book 1 in a long series of chonky books. So I'm guessing The Fall probably represents the tone and pacing maybe of the entire series more accurately or whatever. But yeah, I agree. I think that I personally enjoyed getting to kind of be spoon-fed, baby-fed the world and, like, just learn our little corner of it, our little town first, and, like, have little hints of magic and little, "Ooh, what's that's?"
Mhm.
And then when I did go read The Fall, I was like, I did feel a little bit like drinking from a fire hose, because I mean, he's done a absolute crazy amount of world building for this, series, clearly. Um, so yeah. Yeah, that was my impression too, whereas, like, I really enjoyed The Fall. I had a great time
Yeah,
reading it. Um, but
but I
yeah, I
think
think
that
it's so tonally different from the beginning of Blood and Fire. Yeah.
and I think that this is where sort of like we've stumbled across like the accidental perfect way of reading it.
Right.
Because the point where we got to at the end of chapter 11, you are introduced to these characters that then that are present in the fall, and you get a little bit of an exposure to this bigger world that's out there that our characters who we've come to love have kind of
Yeah.
stumbled
They're
into,
just
and it's
branching out into that wider world, and then we take a step back.
and
Yeah.
so, like, for us as readers, we're following the same trajectory that they are because we read the first 11 chapters, we get to come to love our little slice of the world. And then, as the characters are sort of being plunged into the bigger world, we can then go read The Fall and be like, oh, okay, this is some of the context for this. This is what is, and I feel like this is, you know, how there's like 1,000 different ways to watch Star Wars?
That's I was
Like,
just gonna say that. I was just gonna
this
say
is
yeah.
like the way to read these books is like don't start with The Fall, right? Try it. If you haven't read like any of Ryan Cahill, start with Of Blood and Fire, read the first 11 chapters, then go back and read The Fall, and then you'll be like, it all makes sense. It all
Right?
fits together so perfectly, and you won't have like the shift in tones, right?
Yeah.
It's perfect. It's like, so yeah, I feel like we have created something that the world, I can say you're welcome to the world, you know,
Mission
for like
for this YouTube show accomplished in episode
yeah.
1.
So
Look at us
we
go.
could probably just like stop doing this now and already people will be like, "Whoa, that was amazing." Like, yeah, it's all good.
It's all
Um,
we needed.
let's talk about like, because like we just mentioned about falling in love with characters.
Yeah.
So like who are you in love with? Like which characters are the ones that have like spoken to your soul as a reader, MJ?
Yeah, well, here's the thing, because, like, we've just, like, been, texting each other a little bit while reading. I think we might have different answers here. Because I mean, I think the easy answer, which I how are you pronouncing this name? Callan or Kalen?
I've been in my head switching.
I know,
So
well,
I don't
here's
know.
I have a family member named Kalen, so I'm like, I wanna say Callan, just just really different. Um, but yeah, so of course that's the easy, that's our main character. I do feel really connected to him as a character. My other one is Wrist, though. I really like
Yeah, me
Wrist.
too.
Oh, okay. Well, I was gonna say a comment that you'd made me think that you might not like Wrist. So
Oh,
talk
I
to me
love
about Wrist.
Rist. So, okay, so I love Rist. Um, that sounds really weird when you say it like, "I love Rist."
I love
Like,
it.
yeah. No, I love Riz. I as a character, I think he's so sweet. I think he's really gentle. I think he's got all of these sort of things. But so through the book, there's these perspective shifts, right? And so I don't know about you, MJ, but like when I'm reading as a like a plot centric guy, right? That's how my head works. So I'm constantly trying to think in terms of story and think, right, why is that been presented like that? And there's a point in the book where the perspective shifts over to Wrist for one chapter. and it doesn't need to, right? It can just stay in Callan's perspective,
Right.
and it will still continue and everything like that. So I was like, "Why the shift?" Because I get why, like, I get I get because of what's just happened, because there's been a big magical thing that's happened with Wrist, and it's kind of like he's got access to this power that is, like, supposed to be, like, foreboding and, like, forbidden and all this kind of stuff. But, like, why shift perspective? And then I was like, "Oh, is he trying to make us care so much about Wrist that, like, when Wrist becomes the bad guy later on, we're all like, 'No!' Like,
That's
seriously, in
why
my
you think,
head."
because you the for context for the audience, Frasier just texted me, "I think Wrist is gonna end up being a bad guy," and I was like,
Yeah.
"Why?"
Yeah, I know, right? There's no clues in his personality. It's purely the shift in perspective that gives me this, like,
Interesting.
I'm like, because I think there's a few different things that Ryan's put into this book where I'm like, "Why are you doing this to me, bro? Like, you're gonna break my heart, aren't you? You're gonna make me go like the no, like I'm just gonna
Setting me up
leave
for
with this
pain.
book." Yeah, I feel that because I feel it's been such a, like, the title is Of Blood and Fire, and it's been such a gentle book so far that I'm like, he's gonna destroy me
Right,
the act
like,
3.
we've not
So,
I mean, we've seen some blood. I don't think we've seen any fire yet.
apart from Out of Wrist.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's his character gesture.
That's what his little sign, he gets spirit fingers. I love it. I love it. We also have an animal companion, which we haven't seen a ton of yet, but
Yeah.
oh god, I'm a sucker for a good animal companion. I've tried to write an animal companion a number of times, and I keep failing at it because 'cause I'll just, like, get, like, 2/3 of the way through a draft and be like, "Oh, no, I forgot about the animal companion, like, 6 chapters ago." Um, but like, literally, because okay, so you guys, I've never been, like, a tabbing my book. Look at this. Look what I've become for this show.
Yes.
But, like, literally as soon as, our wolf friend showed up, whose name I'm sucking at remembering.
Fania. Is it Fania, Finia, Finia, Fenia, Funia?
Yeah, that one, though. I literally wrote, "Animal companion, heart."
Yeah.
The margin. It's like, "Yay, we have an animal friend." I love that.
Yeah. I just in my when I was making notes for this, I just wrote Fania. Oh, like,
And I love how also it's, like, clearly, like, a massive, monstrous wolf beast, and we're like,
yeah.
"Aw, puppy." Um,
In in the edition which I've got, which is a Broken Binding edition, I'm gonna give some, like, unofficial, like, plug for the Broken Binding edition, because there is
you
this
have artwork.
beautiful
I don't have artwork.
beautiful artwork, and this is, like, after chapter 2 or something. Let me find the page. Hello, look at that. Look at that little wolfy boy. Yeah, you will fine. It's like, oh.
Squidges.
But isn't that great? Like, and I think Ryan knows that everybody loves an animal companion. You have 2 animal companions in real life,
I
MJ, so
do
it's no wonder that
too. One is
you love.
literally on my lap right now.
Yeah.
He loves when I'm recording. He's Thorin. This is Thorin Oakenshield, audience. And the one you'll see ping ponging around in the background is Evie. But Thorin, like, doesn't come sit on my lap while I'm at my desk usually, unless he sees my, like, recording lights on, because then he knows I'm not gonna be moving for, like, the next hour, and so then he'll come
Yeah,
sit up. Um, but yeah.
but yeah, the wolf pine, I feel like this wolf has not has not featured anywhere near as much as I was hoping
No, but that's I
it
feel like
should.
it's I mean, the day is young, right? Like,
Yeah.
we are, like, 170 pages into a probably, like, multi-100,000 page series, maybe not that many, but multi-thousand page series.
10,000,000 pages, right?
So many books. But yeah, no, I also agree. We saw him in the beginning, but we have, he wasn't allowed to bring, his wolf companion with him for the proving,
Mm.
um, which
Mhm.
I wanna talk about the proving in a minute also, by the way. Um, but
Before we move on from
yeah.
characters, I need to make a confession time,
Oh,
right? So I was reading, and so let's talk about Callan,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
His family setup. He's got mum, dad, sister, right? Ella's the sister. Um, when Ella is
Did you think
introduced,
it was a love interest?
I thought it was a love
I did
interest,
too.
right? And so I even wrote in my notes, did a little eye roll, and little so and I did like a little heart triangle and was like, "Oh, with this Anya and Ella, this is what it's gonna be. It's gonna be this and that." And then like a few chapters later, I remember like, "Hang on a minute, that's his sister. Ew." And I went back and reread the bit where I thought about the love interest, and what she calls him brother like 6 times or something. And I'm like, "How did I not?" How as a
Reader
reader,
thought
it's
he's
like
reading
so
Game of
stupid.
Thrones here. These are
Yeah.
Targaryen
Yeah.
bitches. That's funny.
So from
No,
my notes from that point
I
on.
caught on that it was a sibling, like, it sounds, like, faster than you did. But no, when it's, like, the first, like, a little bit of dialogue, I was like, "Oh,
Mhm.
this is, like, a little," but then, you pick up later. It's like, "Oh, no, she's not flirting, she's, like, actually razzing him," like
Yeah, I was like but in my head, I was like, because that had gone in there, it stuck,
Yeah.
and then so whenever she's like, "Haha, don't worry about it, brother. Don't worry about it, brother. Hey, Callum feels this way, but dad's gonna feel a different way." I was like, "What has her dad and Callum got to do? Well, how are they connected?" Right? It's like, "Oh, yeah, same
I was
person."
like, "Oh,
Like, it's just like yeah. I'll tell you the one character that I distrust,
Fritz."
right? Rhett.
Oh, dude, I distrust Rhett
Mm,
too. Rhett's got something going on.
yeah.
I don't know what it is yet, but he's got and who knows, maybe the little secret he's holding a secret for sure. Maybe the secret that he has is, like, not, anything bad, but no, at this point in time, I do not trust Rhett. I
No.
wish I could just, like, smack Fritz upside the head because he
Yeah.
sucks. He sucks because he's a bully, and he's not even a smart bully. Like,
Mm,
in the part where they're, like, arguing about, like, the situation that happened during the proving, and he's like, "Well, no, what actually happened?" It's like he didn't even try to say they didn't steal the bear pelt from it's like, nobody
mhm.
there was no witnesses out there, dude. You couldn't
Yeah.
come up with a better lie? You couldn't come up with a better
Yeah.
story than that? Come on, man. I mean,
It's
not
like
that I'm
especially when he's
rooting
like,
for
"We're
him,
gonna take it back and it's ours now. We're gonna say that we did it, and we're gonna like," and then it's
and
like,
then
"So did you
immediately
do it?"
like I mean, I'm glad that his story was so crappy because I didn't want him to
Mm,
to win that particular argument, but, like, did you even try? Come on, man. Yeah,
yeah.
not a fan.
And how he goes in ahead of the other 2, like, he didn't even give the other 2 chance to, like, show as if there's, like, some crazy, like, evil genius among his ranks. He's just like, "No, no, you got me, you got
Right?
me." Like,
Mm-mm.
but what yeah.
What a fool.
Um, so you wanted to talk about the proving, so let's talk about
I
the
do
proving.
I do wanna talk about the proving because, well, okay, let me see where that was in my notes because I took notes. Um,
This is how serious we are about this book club. We're, like, making notes, we're treating these as, like, scholarly
right?
texts, and
We
we're like
kind of are a little bit though, because I had my little highlighter out and I was, like, doing my little thing. But okay, so I have a question about the proving at this point in time, and it could be that, like, you missed the brother-sister dynamic. I've just missed a sentence or 2. You know what I mean? Like, I could have just skimmed over something and missed important context. What is it that we have a ostensibly pretty peaceful society right now, right? Because when the Uraks start coming in, they're like, "Oh, no, they haven't been here in a long time," which we could talk about that in a minute too. Um, but this peaceful society that ostensibly relies on agriculture and, like, labor-intensive jobs to succeed, they have a pretty brutal and, like, dangerous, deadly coming of age ritual only for, like, our healthy potential laborers, right?
Mm, right.
The I mean, I'm not gonna be annoying about it because, like, whatever, ultimately, like, I'm a sucker for, like, a good, like yeah, but it's like, I'm wondering if there's something deeper there, if there's, like if we're gonna I don't know if this town has, like I assume it's, like, the history of war and it's been, just part of the tradition forever. But as I was reading, I was like, "God, this is people die doing this." And these kids are, like, teenagers, and they're the teenagers that would be, like, working the fields and, like, doing the hunting and stuff later in this, kind of sexually split or whatever, gender split society. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I had,
So
like, slight questions about that as a reader.
so here's where my I think my head is going for,
Yeah.
right? Because I think that there's more to this council of people
Yes.
that are governing this area of the world than we think, right? I think that the proving is like a tradition that is being enforced throughout generations, but it's probably been established by as there's a reason for it,
Right.
right? And it's like we're not getting the reason because we don't have all the secrets yet
Right.
about the council.
That's
But there
it.
is something
'Cause
shifty
I don't trust the
about
council at all.
no, no,
Mm-mm.
not at all. Like, there's that whole thing of like everyone's like, Urax, we haven't seen Urax around here for ages. And then there's one character who's like just being quiet and like just like, is basically in charge of the proving, right? When the two proving when they send them all off. And then Kara, and then she's just like, so the reports have been increasing. And then they're all like, "What?" And it's like, yeah, she got secrets. There are things that are shifty about that,
Right.
for sure.
Things to come.
But we
Yeah.
we both have theories that are like that I think that align after like because we were sort of talking as we were reading, and I was like, I got a theory at the end of this chapter, and you got to the end of the chapter and you were like, is it this? And I was like, yes. And it's like,
We're
I don't
alive.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if like that's because we're both amazing readers, which of course we get the absolute accurate gist of things first time every time because we are amazing
Every
readers,
time,
clearly.
clearly.
Or, or whether it's just Ryan is really good or what
Right?
goes.
It
And you
can't be
don't
both.
like,
We can all 3 be geniuses.
yeah, yeah. uh, I we know who Heim is, right?
Yeah.
We know Heim's
Both
alive.
of them, like, I
We
don't
know
think he's dead.
Heim's
I do not think
yeah.
that Callan's
We know
brother's
Heim's
dead.
the prologue dude. He's the
I
prologue
think he's the
guy.
prologue guy.
100%, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
That is the
yeah.
theory that we share. The only other theory I wrote down is what we already talked about, but I must read the exact phrasing of my note because I just reread it, and you will enjoy it because it's, "The town council is up to something, them bitches shady." That's all I wrote. Clearly, I'm making this very scholarly. But them bitches are
Yeah,
shady.
yeah, in literary journals, that's what you're gonna read, sort of like highbrow fantasy literary journals, like quote from MJ Kuhn, right? Yeah, but it's I feel like this again goes into, like, Rhett's thing. So Rhett was sent out after the proving to go meet with this sort of like this Urak threat and all this kind of stuff, and then it kinda ties into the prologue too perfectly. So if he's, like, escaped that but this is what I don't trust about Rhett, okay? I trust Callan implicitly. I think Callan's great. Um, but Rhett is described by Callan as handsome, right? And there is this unwritten rule that you need to pay attention to as readers if you don't know it already. And that's that if a male fantasy author writes a male character who is handsome, that guy is not going to be a good guy, right? Because like we are as writers are way too insecure to make a 10 out of 10, right? It's like, no, we're gonna have to like bring the pretty boys down,
Oh my
right? So like this
god.
is what's gonna
I
happen.
love
We're
this
gonna set him up as a
theory.
10 and we're gonna like demolish him by the end of the book. Rhett's gonna be the most cowardly, awful person. And the fact he ran away with Ella in the middle of the night and they left notes and wasn't even courageous enough to go to the dad and be like, I'm gonna take care of her.
Dude.
Like this is like, I'm telling you, Rhett.
Something fishy is going on there. For s I don't I now feel the need to, like, reread every male fantasy author I've ever read before and just see
Yeah. So
if they're hot male characters, I'll end up sucking.
oh, no, 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 it's fine, it's fine. They can be hot male characters. It's if they're referred to as being handsome. That's the telltale thing,
That's the
right? If the
sign.
character is like, "Oh, they're just so
You're
handsome,"
like,
you're like, "What a bad guy," right? Unless there's something that isn't quite working. Like, for example, if Ella and Rhett, if there was like if Rhett wanted to be with her and she didn't because of what happened with Haim, and he was handsome, then that's like a love
no, he's like
thing.
a
But like
sad
if
boy handsome, and it's different. So it's like if he's handsome and things are going too perfectly for him, it's like
if
that's
he's a
suspicious.
10, right, and he's got his love of his life that he's running away with, right, he be Dodge. And if he's not Dodge, Ryan, you dropped the ball, mate. Like that
You
is
should have
for
made this
all
character sketchier.
exactly. 10 ten's done it. We're guys, right? It's like I know it's fantasy, but still, like the guy's gonna be a guy.
Suspension of disbelief has its limits, okay?
Yeah, totally. I can do like the magical realm, but like put a handsome guy in there and he's not
And he's
shift.
not
Come
awful.
on. Yeah.
I ain't buying it. Oh my god. Well, okay,
Um,
I
what do you think
have
before we move in
yeah.
to other like deeper conversation and stuff? I want to talk to you about the title because this is my thing, right? How do you feel about the title?
For Of Blood and Fire?
Yeah.
How do I feel about it?
Hmm.
Um,
As a title, just like if you saw it on the shelf, like Of Blood and Fire, what's your first reaction?
Fine. Fantasy?
Yeah?
Dragons probably, 'cause fire? And there's an egg on the
Yeah. That's like it's like that's like a total normal reaction to have, right? I realized I had a completely abnormal reaction to it when I first saw the title because I was like, "What of Blood and Fire?"
Oh,
Right?
like, you
And I
wanted it
was
to be
like,
the a blank of blank and
it was
blank.
gonna be like Sword of Blood and Fire, or like even The Fall of Blood and Fire, or like King of Blood and Lord of Blood and Flyer, Flyer, bleh,
You're so
something like that.
frustrated, you're getting flustered.
I know, right? So I think I have this private theory, right? And I'm gonna if we get to chat with Ryan about this, I'm gonna ask him straight up, right? This is a question that you must not let me forget, MJ.
Okay.
And everybody who's watching this, don't let me forget this, right?
Hold him accountable in the
Um,
comments.
exactly. I think that he had a longer title in mind, and then when he went to publish it, he accidentally deleted the first word. And then he was
And
like,
then he just stuck
"Oh,
with
Blood and
that
Fire. I kind of like
name
that.
of
Let's stick with
convention
that."
for the whole rest of
Right?
the series.
Exactly. I think it was some great, glorious accident. Or maybe he was like something of Blood and Fire because I like the last bit, and eventually was like, "Do you know what? I can't think of anything. I'll just drop the
Right,
first
like,
bit
yeah,
and just do of Blood and
we're
Fire."
good.
Yeah, that's my reader theory about this entire
I
series.
like it. I like it.
Mm.
I don't know. I like your theory about handsome men sucking more, but, we'll compile we'll compile a list of theories. We'll keep track. Well, before we move, because I know we are gonna, like, deep dive, let's talk a little bit about the very end of chapter 11, like, right where we cut, because we haven't really dived into that at all yet. Because 'cause we've got this new character that has shown up there in the city. We've got this character, Eric, which okay, as soon as he showed up in the bar, I was like, "Speaking of them bitches shady, I don't trust this guy at all." But now I'm like, "I don't know, maybe we should," because Callan has made some questionable decisions,
Mm.
based on everything that we know. Um,
Yeah.
but what's your take on that whole, like, conflict? Where do you feel like, what is your when you finished reading your chapter 11, like, what were you like? What's your feeling right now at this point as a reader?
My feeling right now is that so I wrote a little note right at the end of chapter 9, and I just wrote, "There's more to this story than a boy in a village,"
Yeah.
right? And I feel like that is like so the case.
Yeah.
Like what they're about to stumble into, they are not ready
No,
for,
we are about to
right?
reach our plot point 1. You know what I mean? Our
Hmm.
point of no return, yeah.
At the end of chapter 10, my note was, "Eric and the knifey person be interesting. Where is this going?"
Eric and the Knifey Person. I feel like if it was Eric and the Knifey Guy, like, that could be, like, a cool band name. Uh,
Eric and the knifey guy.
or the Knifey Guys. We'd have to have multiple
Yeah,
guys,
the
unless it's a
knifey guy.
two-man
Yeah. And their thing could be that they have, like, little knives on the end of their guitar,
See?
and, like and when the drummer's doing a drum solo, they get the knives and they, like, chuck them or, like, throw them at targets, like, that would be great. Or, like, you have a guitar that sprays knives into the
That
audience, that would not
we
be as
we
fun.
were doing so well with ideas until that last one for sure. We we were almost there. Oh my
Oh, knives as drumsticks, that would be good.
Here
Or, like, a microphone, yeah. And he's back, right?
happy boys. Oh,
Um,
okay.
so here's what I got, right? At the end of chapter, because I wanted something to happen, and then something happened, right?
Yeah,
Which is great. But like this, so at the end of chapter 11, I felt foreboding for Rhett and Ella,
yeah,
and I felt like everybody's leaving the glade,
yeah,
right? You've got like Kaylin, Rist, and Dan. They are going with Eric and Asen, and then Ella and Rhett are going on their own. So we've got all of our like principal characters of this book leaving the setting that we've grown to love them in. So things are about to go down, right? But some of them have left under their own decisions, and some of them are being pulled along. And it's like, I like the fact that you've got that going on at the same time. I feel like there is going to be like a reconnection of like all of these different strands, but I have this sense of foreboding about one of them more than the other. I feel like scared for Rhett and Ella much more than I am about, because I feel like Callan, now that he's like gone through the proving and all of this kind of thing, I feel like he's got his sword, everything's good,
yeah.
right?
He
like
has, like,
so
a little bit
school.
of temporary plot armor, I feel, at this
Mm,
point, based
yeah,
on
he's got more
what
to
he's
learn
already
about the world.
been through. He's already done some stuff, and so now it's like, "Okay,
Mm,
now we gotta follow him a little bit more." Yeah, Rhett and Ella, yeah, particularly Ella, I'm more nervous about because she's very likable as a character. She's very tied in to several of our main characters, and we don't trust Rhett.
mm.
So I share your concerns in that area.
I feel like what's gonna happen, right, is it's gonna you're gonna they're gonna be living a really lovely life and everything like that, and then someone's gonna show up, and then Rhett's gonna have to, like, kill her, and then go off on this big thing because of the big secret that this or the whatever deal he made to get out of what happened with the Uraks and blah, 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 and then, like, um our boy Callum's gonna come across it and be like, "Who did this to you?" And then it's gonna be like but then there's gonna be a connection between Rhett and Wrist that's gonna mean that those loyalties are like and then it's gonna be a choice of do and then Heim's gonna show up and it's gonna be like, "Oh, yeah, blah, blah," and then it's just gonna it's
It's gonna get
that's
messy.
how I'm feeling,
That's your
right?
theory, okay.
But I don't think I feel like foreboding for that from the Ella side of things. I don't feel as worried about Callum because I feel like what we need to learn about the world is gonna be learned through his eyes.
Oh.
So I feel like that's pretty he's gonna be alright. Like, but he's going on an adventure. My biggest worry right now is how does Fania get to him? When are we
Dude,
gonna see the doggy?
right? Well, okay, see, now we're getting into my theory for what's coming next. Because okay, so my theory for I think this book is gonna end with the reveal that Haim is alive. That is, I think, where this book is gonna
Mm.
end. That's my theory at this point in time. Now watch, it's gonna happen like 2 pages into the next chapter, and I'll be like, "Well, I went dummy." No, my theory is that because Fritz is so unlikable and awful, we are going to get, like, POV chapters from him, and he is going to somehow redeem because he's, like, really our last man standing that we kinda know who they are that's not a parent, you know what I mean? That's living in Glade, right? So it's like I think that Fritz might become a bigger character and
Mm.
have, like, a bit of an arc, and maybe that I don't know, there's interaction with him and the doggy.
Be good. That would be good. I feel like you're right about Heim for the reason that blood is in the title, so, like, that relationship is really important, and there's a lot about brotherhood
Ooh.
that is going through this, so I feel like Heim gonna show up, and I think Heim gonna show up on the opposite side of Callan, and I think that it's gonna be tragic. It's gonna be tragic. Before it gets better, it's gonna get worse.
I think so. Now again, watch,
Yeah,
we're gonna be
exactly, right?
even stupid and, like, the next I've done that before, I'm like, "Oh, this is gonna be the big twist,"
Oh,
and
no, I
then
think
it's
it's gonna
revealed,
be a
like,
Luke
2
Skywalker
pages
thing.
into
I
the
think it's right at the end, it's gonna be like, "And here's the guy from the prologue."
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Be like,
Because
last chapter. Yeah, like,
yes,
and then
that's
he's
gonna
like,
be like the last
chapter?
word of the
Yeah.
book, innit? It's gonna be like, yeah, but they're gonna be opposite sides of the battlefield, and it's
Yup.
gonna be like, blah, 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 and then this guy's gonna walk out, slay a load of people, and he's gonna be like, "It's time!" And it's like, yeah, yeah. We'd like, yeah, and if that's not how it ends, Ryan, again, like, you really let us down. Like, what you're playing at, right?
Right? At this point, we're angry.
Um,
Ugh.
is the prologue, and I wanted to get your take officially for the channel because prologues, like, they are
Our fraught
contentious.
thing.
So let's just like lay it out. What's your stance on prologues?
I am pro prologue.
Yeah.
I am pro prologue. I am pro epilogue. I am pro those like random little like vignettes that you sometimes get in the middle. Like I am pro all the things.
All the
I
logs.
I know
Yeah.
some all the logs. I know some readers that skip prologues,
Mm.
and I'm like, I mean, do you read the book however you want to. And as a writer, like when I'm doing like the books that I'm writing for like the trad side of my publishing career, I tend to avoid prologues, or I write a prologue and then I'll just call it chapter one, just like to be sneaky. Because like I personally do not get the hate toward prologues at all. You?
I agree. And here's the thing, right? I am pro prologue, but I'm not pro just any old prologue. Like
Yeah.
I'm pro prologues that like make sense and that work for the story. Like if there's a piece of information that is gonna get you hooked, right? And then like let's say for example, like you look at a movie like Inception, okay? Starts out him getting washed up on the beach, them having the conversation and everything like that, and then it flashes back. That's a prologue to me. right? And it
Yeah.
works because you need that in your head, knowing that it's building up to that moment, because what you're told then is absolutely crazy. And if you go in with the crazy stuff without that, there's that whole thing of like, what, where is this going? Right.
Yeah.
And so it builds trust for the reader or for the audience, right? For in that case, it's the viewer. But in terms of, so for me, like the prologue can do that job, and I think it works really, really well, and I'm pro it. But if someone's just throwing a prologue in there just for the sake of having a prologue, I don't think it works. Um, but,
No, that's fair.
but I also think like I'm with you. Like people can read how they want to read. We're not judging. We're not judging. But if there's a prologue, we're gonna be reading it. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Right? Yeah, that's fair. I mean, yeah, if it's not a good prologue, but I would feel that way about anything. I don't want a chapter if it's not a good chapter. You know what I mean? Like, get out
yeah.
of here.
We only want good logs, is what we want.
But
Yeah.
all we want. Oh,
So
all right.
now
Well,
we ready, right?
I think we're ready.
Do you want to do the
Well,
honors?
I'll do the honors for this first episode. So we've talked about the book from our just reader perspective. Now the fun part about this show is that Frasier and I are also both authors. So let's put on our author hats. I mean, I actually had author hats made. Don't worry about it. So yeah, let's put on our author hats and let's talk about like the nitty gritty stuff a little bit.
We're authors now, MJ.
We are authors. I
Yeah.
have to be wearing this or I'm not an author.
Exactly. Yeah,
So if
we're
you
not
ever
just
see me
readers anymore, you know.
at like a con or anything, I'm not wearing this hat.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
Then
being
that's just
real.
reader MJ, you know. She's just like,
It's like a different persona.
can you
Um,
imagine like if like you got onto a panel and they were like, "Where's MJ? She's not in the hat, right? Who are you?" Like,
it's like a Superman Clark Kent vibe. It's like it doesn't actually obscure anything, but it totally changes my identity. Okay, so I want to start talking about some of the strengths that I noticed like right up front reading it. So like the world building is I mean, and I wrote this note before I read The Fall, which the world building now having read The Fall, I'm like, it's great, but it's also way more expansive. And the magic system is a lot. Um, I mean, I still wouldn't call it necessarily a super hard magic system based on what we know so far, but it's harder than I i- intuited right from the first 11 chapters of this book, at least. Um, but, like, I wanted to share a couple sentences that I marked that I think carry, like, a really heavy load when it comes to, like, either world building or character building. And there's just 2 that I picked out and I've marked with my little tabs because I'm one of
ooh,
those people now.
I'm excited to hear what these sentences are.
I know. Well, like, this one is let's see. Okay, so this was a world building one, and it's when, Callan is, like, in the town and he, like, sees the guys what are they called? The the government people.
So this is like chapter 10.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Or is it chapter 11? It's like one of
This
the,
is chapter 10.
is it the soldiers or is it the
Yeah, the soldiers. Are they just called soldiers?
Galorian soldiers, are they?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The Lorien Empire, that's like my but yeah, so we haven't really heard much, I mean, other than the storyteller's story in The Glade, but we haven't heard a ton in this book about the wider world
Mm.
yet and, like, how it all fits together, and so, like, this sentence here I thought did a lot of heavy lifting where it's, "There were old wives' tales that the imperial inquisitors snuck around at night and stole children that misbehaved." And that's on page 137 if well, I guess if you have this edition. Um, I think that sentence does a lot of heavy lifting because it tells without telling us the extreme mistrust. Like, imagine it was, like, a common thing for your parents to tell you that, like, some government official is gonna come steal you in the night. Like, that says a lot about the culture and the relationship that the people of the Glade have with the larger empire. So I thought that sentence did a lot of heavy lifting world building. Then the other one that I picked out is on page 145. So, like, they're both just kind of from the end because I wasn't doing a good job looking at specific sentences earlier. That's my bad. Um, but this is like a character or like a relationship or like you mentioned brotherhood as one of your words, like a brotherhood building, grounding moment for our main trio. Or it's literally just that, so Risk says that, Dan's had, like, 3 meats or whatever, and, he Callan walks over to Dan, and he says, "This sounds like 6 meat Dan." And to me, like, that is such it's funny, first of all, like, it made me
Mhm.
giggle, but it is such a, like, a subtle character relationship building where it's like he knows him well enough to know how he behaves in all kinds of different contexts when like, that friend where you're like, "Oh, this is 3 beer so and so, you're a little goofy." That is the relationship that these 2 had, and I thought that sentence did was it's just he has a lot of those in here. Those are just 2 I picked out where it's like a tiny little sentence that does a beautiful amount of heavy lifting for world and character.
I absolutely agree. I think that the sentence level, there are so many little nuances that create a bigger picture on this, and I feel like world building is absolutely great. I feel like a lot of the world building and a lot of what the characters have experienced is also kind of like tying into what I considered the theme of the book to be from the prologue. So, like, if you take the prologue out of this book, right, it doesn't work as well because you would be like, what is this building to? Where is this going? Why do I want to spend 100 pages in effectively like, the Shire, like without knowing that there is this other big thing that's happening? And that's fine.
Building danger, yeah.
But like if for a book of Blood and Fire, I would be really confused. So like so I was like with the prologue, the line that I thought that like resounded with foreshadowing and thematic foreshadowing was a man should not simply wish to live, they should wish to live in a way that they deemed to be right. That distinction was a separation between men. And I was like, that I think is a theme that is kind of resonating already that I've seen resonating through the book because the idea of it's not just a case of living, it's how you live. It's the decisions you make. That's the true measure of character. That's what we saw in The Proving. Like, that's what we see happening with these new characters that have stumbled into it. There is so much, I got so many little things of like, yep, this ties into the theme, this ties into the theme.
Yeah,
Even to the point whereby, like, their reactions to, like, killing something, like Dan and how he reacted to killing the bear. And,
that made
like,
me love Dan so much, by the way.
uh,
It was like, it was self-defense, but, like, yeah, that is another thing. It was just a little simple reaction that showed, like, a lot of character in there. Yeah.
totally. And I feel like, what's happening is that without even realizing it, he's getting you into that headspace of like, you're now making decisions with the characters, which means that you're gonna be analyzing how that theme is kind of like impacting on you. And I feel like as an author, I'm really enjoying the way that that's being woven in, intentionally or not. I feel like it's just really cool how that little snippet of the prologue validates the prologue, and it's like, okay, this is what the book's going to be about, guys. Like, like get buckled in because we're going on a journey. I feel that was really cool. And one of the things that I want to talk about as well in terms of um, author things is I really liked the promises that were made in the early chapters that are being built upon through later chapters. For example, if you're going to write a character whose main weapon is going to be a sword, you can go in to that character in lots of different ways. But what we see Callan doing is we see him training like with like what is clearly a very rubbish practice like sword, right? And he's getting whooped. And it's like that to me is a perfect example of how you should start a story with this kind of thing. Because first of all, it creates stakes because when he gets his weapon later, he's not infallible. Secondly, it shows a journey for the character because he's going to be leveling up. And it's like it's a promise to the reader of like this is really, really gentle at the minute, but stay with me because we're gonna have sword fights, right? And I really like that the author is kind of like just making these little promises through the story of like, yeah, it's okay. You can trust me. This is gonna get epic. You just have to just stay with me here. Stay with me. Be patient. It'll work. And I feel like as an author, that's something that I maybe would not approach in the same way. I'd be like, this guy loves swords. I'm gonna give him like a fight where he conquers like loads of people early on with like a sword that he just so happens to find. And it's like that would be a great way of being like, this guy likes swords. Like,
Let's
and
introduce this character that way.
yeah,
Yeah.
and Ryan's like, no, no, I'm gonna first of all get him beat by others using the weapon of choice. And it's not even gonna be a very good one. He's gonna have to earn his sword. Like, I just thought it was a really cool way to start that character and to tell us about the character while also promising things for him in the future. Does that make sense?
No, totally. Well, and it's I think it's, what you're, kinda describing here is ultimately the author trusting their reader, right?
Mm,
Where it's like I noticed that with the world building as well, particularly in, Of Blood and Fire. There was a little more, like like a lot of stuff, world building stuff going on for the fall. But I mean, it's a novella. You don't you economy of space. You didn't have the time, right? But it's like I felt a lot of the like little world building details that were just kind of trickled out um throughout the early chapters where I don't understand the magic. I don't understand the political stuff. I don't understand what's going on with this council. I don't, but I'm not worried about that as the reader
mhm,
because I it's probably because of these promises that are being paid off. I'm trusting that the author is going to tell me that when I need to know, and that is because the author is trusting me to come along for the ride, right? And as a writer, that is something I struggle with a lot. In my early drafts, I'm forever sending drafts to beta readers, and they're like, MJ, like, you had it, and then you added, like, this sentence that just takes away the magic because you explained it. Like,
mhm.
the thing that was left unsaid that the reader could totally pick up on, and I have trouble trusting my reader in early drafts, so this is just I yeah, it's masterfully done in this, which is really nice.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot that I can learn from this in the same kind of, ballpark, really. Because for me, it's like, I feel like pacing. I feel like you got to keep the reader going, and there's a lot of intrigue that's built in here with the pacing, just, allowing himself to slow down, right? But not reduce the amount of intrigue that's raised as a result of that. Like, it's not a page turner. You're not reading this book kind of like, oh, what's gonna happen in the next chapter? Oh, it's like there's only maybe like one cliffhanger chapter in the whole
Yeah.
first 11, but the pacing is so well done that you feel like you're grounded in this world, and I feel like that is enough for a reader sometimes, and that is a big lesson to me because I always feel like I've got to give people a reason to keep reading, but if the reason that you're doing is you're just manufacturing it for the sake of it, and you're using that as a tool and you're using the same tool over and over again, you're gonna exhaust the reader. I don't feel exhausted by this book. I don't feel like my emotions are like, I feel like I am at the point where I am ready for the feels, and I feel like I've been prepared that way through the pacing of it, which I think is really, really a really important lesson, especially for, like, new writers, because you're gonna be given, like, loads of, like, instructions of it's gotta be started in media res, it's you gotta, like, start with the action, you've gotta be doing that, and it's like, no, you just need to get really good at making people care about what's on the page, right? And if it's correctly paced, people will stay with it.
For
That was the
sure.
thing I took away.
Well, and that makes me think of, like so when one of the things I like to do is, like, I'll go, like, speak to, like, groups of, like, students or whatever about right, like, English classes and whatever about writing and, like, do exercises with them and stuff, and, the question that I get all the time is, like, "Well, how do you, come up with an idea that's, like, hasn't been done, that's completely original?" And my answer is always, like, first of all, like, I won't say you can't, but, like, you kinda can't. Like,
Mm,
one of the beautiful things about stories and why people love tropes is that, humans have been telling roughly the same story structure of stories for all of time, and that is part of why we gravitate towards stories is that familiarity, the freshness in the familiar. Um,
mhm,
but this is a great example. Like, I have seen fantasy stories before that start with a young boy in a small town that goes off with his friends on a dangerous adventure. I have seen that before. But this is wholly unique. This is its own thing. And I think it's a great example of that where it's like you can if you tropes don't have to be a dirty word. You know what I mean? Like you
mhm,
can take tropes and you can get the most of them. You can take tropes and play with them. Maybe do something a little different, maybe lean into some and invert others and that keeps it fresh. Like so I think that that is a really good example of that where it's like this is classic fantasy, and I say that wholeheartedly positively. Like, there's nothing wrong with classic fantasy, and I do feel like a lot of times, like, people are so distracted, myself included, with being like, "Ah, but it's gotta be, like, something totally new and fresh, and I gotta do, like, a completely different spin on" or you can just do a kick-ass, completely original because it's from your heart rendition of something readers love,
Mhm.
and I think that I mean, clearly readers love this book. It's on my, like, shameless TBR that I should have read years ago for a reason. Like, everyone's always talking about this book.
Mhm.
Um, and I think it's because it partially because it does that, right? Where it's leaning in on the tropes that people love and, like, throwing in some new stuff for us too. Yeah.
It's like it reads like a comfort read at the same
Yeah.
time as being a little bit
Totally
like
new.
you're
Yeah.
telling you, yeah. And I feel like that's a really good place to land as an author in the fantasy genre because
Yeah.
so much of the fantasy genre is sort of reliant upon the reader loving the tropes that you're playing with. And like what I feel Ryan's doing with this is he's like giving us what we love in the way that we want it. Like which is we want to read something we've never read before, but we also don't really want to like be so taken out of what we love that it's something that is like alien to the fantasy genre. Like this is just like you say, it's classic. It's got all the staples of a classic fantasy, but it doesn't feel like a rehash, which is like the Glade is not the Shire, right? It's its own thing, but it's got that kind of pace and atmosphere
Yeah,
and,
and that like, "Oh, I could set up shop and hang out in
yeah,
the glade for a while.
yeah,
I could hang out here." It's got the same energy, the same hominess of
yeah,
that classic starting point in a lot of fantasy stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, which yeah, I love that.
It's got the stuff that you love about the Shire without being the Shire, and that as an author is really important to put into your books is because if you're not writing about the things that you love, it's gonna come through, and I think the thing that comes through to me in this is that Ryan obviously loves all of those other fantasy works and has thought, "Right, where do I fit in this?" And then has
Yeah.
figured it out, and I love that he's done that. I think that's really cool. What did you think to the map as putting on your author hat?
I know. Well, okay, here's the thing. This is maybe I should take off my author hat for this because this is another shame thing. When there are maps in a book, here's how I treat them when I first open the book. Ooh, pretty. Now though, like, I'm getting the sense we have Rhett and Ella that have left. We have the boys on their adventure with Eric and the Knifey boys. Like, we are now going to start traveling. That's when I'm gonna start referencing the map.
Mm.
I'm gonna be totally honest with you, I ain't really looked at it yet. Um,
So I was because of doing this, right? I was like, I'm gonna remember there's a map and I'm gonna refer to it every time a place name is made. And I was like, so I was looking at this map and I was looking, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So like the Ulm and you've got the Ulm Forest and the Glade. I'm like, yeah, I know where that is. That makes sense. I can see kind of like the burnt lands they were referred to. I'm like, oh yeah, I can see them. That's all good. And then these random people come in, which is where Eric and the Knifey people come from Driffain. And I was like, "Oh, okay, let me see where that is on the map." Cannot find it.
ooh, so maybe it's like across maybe it's across the ocean or
And I
something.
was like, "That is either very, very clever or very, very, like, overlooked."
Or
But I
like
was like,
a
"Maybe
missed
it's just me.
opportunity on the map.
Maybe I can't see it." But, like, if you are reading it and you are paying attention to stuff like that, and that could be a very, 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 very clever thing to have done.
Like a big
So provided
hint.
a place that is not on the map makes you think, "Ooh," and yet everybody knows it.
Like, who are these guys?
Yes,
Curious.
and where
Yeah,
are
that's
they?
why I need to use my map more.
Right? But, like, as an author, I was like, if that's not happened and that's not actually what he's done, somebody needs to do that. Right? Because that would be like for us, like, for the geeks, right? That
Wait
is
for the
like
map
fodder,
nerds.
right?
I love it.
So, yeah. So that's one of my author goals now is to create a map and then to, like, make loads of things that don't relate to
That
the map.
aren't even on it, and
Yeah,
then
and
just,
have
like
people go like, "What?" Like
like, it's like and then never mention them again, and you're just rage baiting your readers.
Yeah,
It's great.
exactly. But then put the real map in the next book, and then do all the place names from the previous books. You have to buy both if you want the map to
Oh,
match as the thing.
see?
Yeah.
That's like, some whatever, multiple album Taylor Swift nonsense right there.
Yeah, that's how Taylor Swift writes fantasy. That's this shit.
Don't don't get her fantasy stuff. No. Well, okay, so then I did wanna, like, because we yes, obviously, we're both enjoying this, but, you know, let's be a little critical if we may. There's
You got
one
tea to
part
spill.
I know I got to not really, it's very gentle tea.
I got water to spill.
It's
Well, I don't
it's l
anymore, but
you already did that. I have very lukewarm tea. Well, first of all, this is, like, kind of like a, um, I don't know, a tip that I forget about a lot, which is like if there is something that you think is going to give the reader pause about your world building, about the story, about whatever, sometimes the best thing to do is just like call it out literally in the book that the characters are like, yeah, that's kind of silly. Because then you can move on. And so like when obviously like I know that, like, we talked about the proving already before, and I'm like, "Why are we sending all of our, like, able-bodied young men out into the woods to be in danger?" And, like, the girls just, like, don't have to do any like, literally don't have to do anything for, like, coming of age, like, what's I'm just, like, as a reader, my confusion flags are up a little bit, and on page 122, there's, like they do a toast and says, "To the young man who have passed through the proving, and to the young women who have nothing to prove."
Yep.
Right? Again, a wonderful example of something that's funny, like a funny little aside where for me as the reader, I'm like, "Okay, well, even in the town, they, like, are, like, making little jokes about the fact that the girls don't have to do anything." So I thought that's clever. It's a clever tip that, you can use if you have a thing where you're like, "Ah, readers might be questioning this, and I don't know how to solve that problem." I'll just call it out in text. Um, but no, the only, like, real criticism I have is there's literally a personal opinion 100%, and then because it's a trope that I don't like. Um, I hate storyteller trope. I don't like it. I am not a fan
In
of the
chapter
storyteller
2,
trope. Yes,
yeah,
it's just
I was just thinking the same thing, right? I was going back to my notes, right? I was
so
like,
many people love the storyteller trope. So many people are a really big fan of it. For me, whenever there is like a storyteller thing, I did it in this book too, and I do it every time. I just kind of skim the story that's being told.
"Mm,
And I probably miss important stuff that way. It's probably a terrible way to read a book. But but just for myself, it is just not a trope that I personally like. But again, I think that if you're with me, we might be in the minority. If you're not with me, I might just be in the minority alone here. Because it's in a lot of fantasy. A lot of people clearly love it. But that is just my one criticism is when it popped up, I was like, ah, storyteller trope. Okay.
yeah." No, when it came in chapter 2 and they're in the pub listening to it, my feelings about it were this is an awful lot of information that
That's how I
is
always feel about the storyteller trope.
but the thing is, right, after I read The Fall, I was like,
Yep.
"Oh, okay. That's a way of giving this information in a
Yeah.
condensed way," and it kind of ties in, and if you read The Fall first, this is a nice reminder of, like,
What
what you've
happened?
read and everything like that.
Yeah.
What but as a reader coming into this fresh, like, it took me to read The Fall, to look back on that and think, "Oh, that's relevant."
So, yeah, and it's generally my perception with the storyteller trope is a lot of times when I see it done, it's telling a long in-depth story when which for I'm guessing for a lot of readers, that pulls them in further. They love the story within the story. But for me, I just kind of tune out or space out a little bit at least while I'm reading that. And really all we needed to know from that larger story was that there's a wider world or there's
Mm.
more history than we, knew a deep history for this place or, whatever. So yeah, that's just a personal preference is that I don't care about the story within the story in the context of the storyteller trope. But that's probably an unpopular opinion because a lot of people love it. So
Here's the reason why I think he might have done that. I don't know why I'm doing this with my hands,
I like it.
but the reason why I'm doing yeah, why I think he might have done that is because if you didn't read the prologue and you just dive straight into chapter 1, you might not think that there's a load of extra world out there. It might be so I think maybe it's catering to readers like that who have maybe skipped over the initial, like, "There's a bigger story here, stay with me, guys," and he doesn't want everybody to have the expectation it's gonna stay in the glade. I feel like there's probably a lot of, like, things that it will become relevant later on in the book, but for me, it's the placement of it,
Yeah.
right? Because the only reason that you as a what you would put a storyteller in chapter 2 is if you wanted to try and make an assurance and settle readers that this is going to go somewhere bigger. For me, the actual information that's in there would be much better being saved and held back to until the point where we're at now,
Yeah.
where we're like, oh, okay, we're introducing new characters. This is the wider story. This is the time for the information. So I think that that's probably why. And I'm not obviously can't speak for writing, but for me as a writer, that would be my concern. Like, how do I show that there is a wider world out there? And the storyteller trope is one of those ways. But like you say, like there's more to it. There's more ways to do that. And for me, as I was reading that section, I found myself tempted to skim.
Yeah.
So that is that and that's the only part of the book where I've been
Oh,
tempted to
same.
skim,
That's the
right?
only part so far for me as well. Sorry, I'm
Mm.
wrangling a cat.
Yeah.
Um, it's the only part of the book for me so far too, where I have been like, okay, everything else so far, I've been just like completely enthralled.
Mm.
But yeah,
So I
so let us know in the comments if
excellent.
that was like your
Yeah.
favorite part. Did you love
Yeah.
the storyteller piece in chapter two? And if so, what did you love about it?
Yes. Yeah, because as authors, it's good for us to know.
Yeah,
So yeah. Do you think it's time to take the author hat off?
I think so. I think so. I think
Yeah,
we can
let's do it.
get kind of
So look,
toasty in our author hats.
yeah, but it's the winter, so it's all good.
I know,
So
I
now we're
know.
just back to being regular people.
We're gonna have to get
Mm,
baseball caps for the summer. I ain't
yeah.
doing a knit hat in July. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Those author sections would be very brief.
Right,
So,
yeah, like,
yeah.
"Oh, so it's great, it's fine, and we're done."
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, okay,
Um,
so that was,
so
like
overall impressions, right? I don't wanna do, like, a rating system. I don't want us to say, like, "It's this out of whatever,"
no.
but I do wanna say sort of, like, where is it falling in your sort of, like in terms of your fantasy, where would you put this in the realm of fantasy, your experience with it so far, and, like, what is it similar to, and what kind of vibes is it giving you?
Yeah. I would recommend this book so far to people if you love Wheel of Time, if you loved, Aragon, if you loved, like, just I mean, Lord of the Rings, but, like, most people in our line of
If
work
you don't
do.
love Lord of the Rings, why are you
What's
here?
going on?
Because
But yeah, if just, like, those really if your soul craves, like, just classic dragon rider, sword and sorcery, like, young farm boy on a journey for the wider world, this has all of that in spades, and it's, a new spin on it. So, yeah, that's where it's kinda falling for me right now. How about you?
yeah, yeah, same, same. All of the things that I'm likening it to are all of, like, the classics. It's like, it's not it's giving me those kinds of vibes. It's giving me those kind where it's like, yeah, this is very much for fantasy readers and for fantasy fans. I feel
Yeah.
like it's gonna appeal to that, totally. I think it's a if you've not read fantasy before, you might enjoy it, but the people who are gonna enjoy this most are the people who've read epic fantasy and who love it. That's
Yeah.
gonna be yeah, that's who it's for. That's its audience. So let us know in the comments if you agree with our theories, if our theories are way off base, and if you've got completely different ones. You might be thinking, yeah, of course, authors are allowed to write handsome characters. What are you talking about, Frasier? Like, that's just your beef. Like, yeah, let us know what you think, and let us know, what where you think it falls and where it falls on your
Yeah,
shelves.
well, and any important
What books are in
details.
between?
Did we miss any important details in those first 11 chapters, that you're like, "Oh, you didn't even see this part in chapter 3?" We would
Yeah.
love that information too. But yeah, so for next week, we are reading chapters 12 through 22. So get reading on those, so you're
Also,
ready for
don't
us.
forget to give us a tagline for MJ, so that she can introduce herself next week. And then, and also the other thing that we want from you is we want book recs.
Yeah.
So things that you are really excited about, books that are recent that you've really loved, or that you would love us to read and you would love to read along with us. And please leave them in the comments, and we will do our best to feature them as part of the channel. Thank you so much for being here on the start of our journey
Yeah.
as just two little farm people trying to get into the wider world.
Going into the
Like,
wider world of YouTube.
yeah. We hope that you have a magical time with us here on the FanFiAddict Book Club. What else is there to say to people before next week, MJ?
Join the Discord. If you're not already in the Discord, join the Discord. Come hang out. We're chatting about books. We're chatting about this book. We have a specific channel in our Discord to talk about all things of Blood and Fire as we're reading through, dish about our theories, talk about all of it, hang out together as a community. So join the Discord, drop any book recs in the comments, and we'll see you next week. Yeah?
See you next week.